This conference will now be recorded.
I'm going to call the special trustees meeting together on May 25th at 2021 at 6 p.m. We'll hold the pledge and stuff until the public meeting at 6:30. In accordance with the collective bargaining agreement between Copley Township and the Fraternal Order of Police full-time patrol officers agreement dated January 1st, 2021, we are here to open a hearing with Officer Kashner in accordance with the grievance procedure. Mr. Kashner, you've asked for a hearing based on a grievance that you have filed in reference to payment of sick time as you are leaving our employment. With that, you can have it in public or you can have it in private. It's your choice. We can do it in executive session or we can do it as we are right now. Okay. Then I'll make a motion to elect Ms. Marshall, Secretary Pro Tem for the meeting.
Second.
Ms. Marshall, will you call the roll? Do you need a roll for that?
The motion is to go into executive session.
No, just make you Secretary Pro Tem.
Oh, no, we don't.
Okay.
We're not
I'll call for the vote.
Not gonna ask about our qualifications.
No.
Okay.
Call for the vote. I vote aye.
Yes,
Schulte, yes.
Okay.
I'll move to go to executive session for the purpose of the grievance at the request of the grievance.
Second Schulte,
Ms. Marshall, will you call the roll for that, please?
Trustee Schulte?
yes.
Trustee Kohler?
Yes.
Trustee Dressler?
Yes.
Okay, we're now in executive session. We turn the recording off.
This conference will now be recorded.
We have finished our special meeting that started at 6 p.m. this evening, and now I will open the regular scheduled trustees meeting, May 25th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. Please rise for the pledge if you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. I don't know if we have any, we have a lot of special guests here, but I don't know if we have any of the county guests on or not. You see Mr. Bowley or anybody on? Because we're still virtual, we have here today Township Administrator Janice Marshall, Trustee Scott Dressler, Trustee Bruce Kolner, Trustee Jim Schulte, Fiscal Officer Linda Pfeiffer. We have our Service Director, Mr. Mitchell. We have our Chief of Police, Mr. Meyer, and we have our Economic Director, Mr. Loudon Klein. Is somebody from the fire coming?
Yes.
Okay. Is it Chief Bauer?
Yes.
Okay, for the record, Chief Bauer will attend. He's just running a minute late. With that, anything from the Board of Trustees? We have a resolution here. I received an email. I forwarded it to Ms. Marshall for the bandstand committee. They have an abbreviated schedule this year. With that, they're asking for a donation that is less than they have in years past. The donation of $8,000 to subsidize the payment for the entertainment at the bandstand committee. It's held on Sunday evenings throughout the summer.
So move Schulte.
Second, Kolner. Any further discussion on that resolution? Do we have a resolution number?
Yes, this is number 44.
Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Pfeiffer, recall the roll, please.
Trustee Dressler?
Yes.
Trustee Kohler?
Yes.
Trustee Schulte?
Yes.
Any other? I have one thing for Board of Trustees. Anything for anybody else? For the record, there's been the public there's been representative from the public asking for about speed tables or some way of slowing traffic on what they perceive to be cut throughs throughout the township. There's been some substantial work in that area. There has been some the trustee, Chief Meyer and Service Director, Mr. Mitchell, have been working together on what is a trust or what is a cut through, where things should go. And it looks like we're looking at speed tables as the answer for those removable speed tables. We do have some prices, and there's been some work in that area. And I'll ask Mr. Mitchell to give us the board an update during your regular presentation. Anything else from the Board of Trustees? Good. Ms. Pfeiffer.
Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to see everybody here, at least a few more than it's been in our past meetings. Next meeting, we won't have our masks, so that's a good thing. Okay, I'm going to start out by a motion to approve the Board of Trustees regular meeting minutes of May 11th, 2021.
So moved, Colner.
Second, Dressler.
Any discussions or additions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll call for the motion.
Dressler, yes.
Colner, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Okay. Next, I have a resolution. It's resolution 2021 number 45. It's to amend the permanent appropriations. I believe you have a copy of it in your packet. In the general fund, Fund 1000, need to amend it $19,034.40. Fund 2921 is the wellness grant for $1,224.46. And lastly, Fund 2272, the Coronavirus Relief Fund, $837.32.
So moved, Dressler.
Second, Colner. Discussion? Ms. Pfeiffer, can you give us an insight on why the corrections? I think I know the one. That would be the health, the wellness grant. That one was with the
That was
funds.
a carryover. It was a carryover, and we would like the trustee approval to use it for future wellness grants. The $19,034 is the emergency management. They supplied emergency management to the township, and then they bill us at the real estate settlement,
Who's that?
the county.
I'm sorry, who supplied emergency management township?
Summit County, it's part of it's emergency management. It's a function charged with creating the framework within which communities reduce vulnerability to hazards and cope with disasters. We're charged for that. The whole community approach to emergency management engages government at all levels with communities and individuals when responding to disasters. They charge for this service against the real estate taxes we receive.
Ms. Marshall, with your experience,
If you'd like to see what this looks like.
Are you aware of that? Is that the subsidy that they voted on back in the 80s to fund hazmat and special operations teams?
Yes, so every
Okay.
entity in the county gets charged for the services of EMA. And
Yes.
it's taken out of the proceeds of the real estate taxes that are collected. And so when you are entering that, you have to show the expense so that it can be recorded as such. So you need to have a purchase order and amend the appropriations.
Okay. I'm sorry, I know they charged, the special operations teams was formed in 1986. They did approve this expenditure for doing that. I've never seen it come here for a PO request.
Would you like to see the backup?
Yes,
You've
please.
never seen this before?
I see emergency management here for $9,517.
Doubled it. We doubled it because we're gonna get another billing.
I'm sorry?
We doubled it, the
Okay.
request, because we're gonna get another billing.
Oh, we're gonna get
second
another
half,
one.
yeah. Rather than go back.
Okay, so that's the backup for half of this. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And then back to the wellness grant. Back last
Okay.
year, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
back last year, the funds to purchase the wellness equipment were to come from partially from the grant that we received from Ohio Deferred Comp. Is that accurate, Chief?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I couldn't remember which, Medical
That's
Mutual.
the grant for medical.
And the remainder of that purchase came from which fund? Is that what this is, ma'am?
No, this is the carryover balance for 2020. It's carryover. On our certificate of estimated resources.
Okay.
And
So back to the wellness thing, is that part of the repair here? With
no,
that-
it's funds that we would like to use for other wellness grants. It's a carryover, just sitting there.
So the purpose of
Same
doing
here.
this is to pull it out of 29-21 and put it into where?
I need to put this in. See, here's the certificate of estimated resources.
Okay,
This was the carryover.
yes.
This is the 2,500. This is it's in there. I want to add this. This has not been added. I'd like to add it.
I'm sorry, Linda.
What was-
I don't mean to be thick, but I'm not following what's happening here. So all this revolves around the $3,700 treadmill that's,
No,
So it has nothing to do with the treadmill purchase.
right,
okay.
right. We're going to receive another 2,500 this year, okay? This was from 2020. It was a carryover balance. We would
Yes,
like
I
to
see it.
spend this because Soma wants to, what is Soma? She has a program that she would like to,
Right, so in past years, we received wellness grants from BWC and have used them for various things, Learn at Lunches and various programs. At the end of 2020, there was a balance in there of $1,224.46. It was not previously put into the permanent appropriations to spend because at the end of 2020, there had been a blanket certificate that had already encumbered those funds. The blanket certificate was closed. So now that 1224 is sitting in that fund. We'd like to use it for additional wellness programs, so we have to amend the appropriations.
Okay,
It has nothing to do with the certificate, because the certificate would be for your revenues,
okay.
but this is for the appropriations. So
Right.
it had not previously been entered into the permanent appropriations, so we want to amend them to be able to spend that money on wellness programs.
Okay.
thank you, Janice.
Sure.
And then the office supplies technology, that's monies that were left over from 2020 as
No,
well.
this happened, 837.32, because of the positive paid check approval, this check was returned, and so it was voided. So it went back into the coronavirus fund. We need to reissue that check to get SHI paid. So we need your approval to spend that money. So we can see we're out the corona fund.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I don't have any.
No, I'm good.
Then Ms. Piper, recall for the resolution, please.
The roll.
The roll, sorry.
Trustee Dressler,
Yes,
trustee Colner,
Yes,
trustee Schulte.
Yes.
Okay. Next, there's a resolution number 2021, number 46. Resolution approving a then and now purchase order for $97,391.68 to the Summit County Fiscal Officer for the first half of the expenses incurred for the Summit County Emergency Management Agency and the Summit County General Health District.
So move, Colner.
Second, Jesselyn.
Discussion? Why is this one a then and now?
Because the taxes came in and it wasn't approved beforehand, so it's a then and.
So do they bill us, or how do we know that they're, what the expenditure is each year? They send us a bill, it comes
Right
on.
here.
Well, we know it's on the piece of paper. We can see that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they don't send us anything other than this. I've got to take the income here and minus the expenses.
So it's a then and now because are we paying it late?
Yes.
Okay, when was it due?
Well, actually, it should have been approved, put in when the appropriations were put in or approved then, but it wasn't. And I didn't know it was supposed to be approved.
So this is paid once a year or twice a year?
No, next year we'll do the whole thing right when the appropriations go in. So this doesn't happen again. This happened last year as well. Kind of caught up on us.
So this is for the EMA as well as the Summit County General Health. Right.
Yes, yes.
So we talked about with the EMA when we just did the last appropriation amendment. But what do we get for our money on that Summit County General Health?
Well, that's a question maybe. Janice, could you address that?
We're required to participate in some capacity.
Part of-
Cities have different options, and so it's a prorated population.
Yes, so each entity in Summit County is charged a prorated amount. And we do get that prorated amount around this time for next year, so it can go into the budget and so forth. So the amount for the Summit County General Health District is in the appropriations, which
Yes.
is why we did not need to amend for it.
Right.
The money it's not late because it's already deducted from your real estate proceeds. It just has not been recorded in the township's books because there hasn't been a purchase order in place for it. So this then and now is for the first half of those costs. The next resolution is going to be a purchase order for the second half, which will come when the real estate settlement comes in August.
Understood. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Ms. Piper, call the roll, please.
Trustee Dressler?
Yes.
Trustee Colner?
Yes.
Trustee Schulte?
Yes.
Okay, next resolution is 47-2021. The resolution approving a purchase order of $97,391.68 to the Summit County Fiscal Officer for the second half of the expenses incurred for the Summit County Emergency Management and the Summit County General Health District.
So move, Colner.
Second, Jesselyn.
Any discussion?
I just want to pile on. Can we eliminate this expense if we became home rule?
No.
No.
This is purely taxes. It's their set of the millage and it's going back to them. Okay.
Or, like Mr. Dresser stated, cities can have their own health department.
Mhm.
I don't know if home rule would allow us to have our own health department.
Yes.
However, we would have to have something. We'd have to have our
Yes.
own health
I
department.
don't know that all
Or
cities
participate.
do.
No, Barberton used to, and
Well,
they have just gone to the county as
But
well.
if you do home rule, you can form your own health department. Pay somebody else to be your health department other than Summit County.
Well, that I'm not sure of. I know about engineering. I know about, I do know about the building department. I'm not sure about the health district.
They are looking at, they're looking at some changes with this, but nothing substantial on county health departments based on COVID, and they became a little overwhelmed, but they're getting reimbursed, so we'll see.
Right, but my point is, we're paying about $100,000 a half, $200,000. Not sure if we get value for that.
That's a good question. I don't know. I can tell you from experience, in the public sector that over the last 20 years has been at least 2 cities. All the townships in Summit County use Summit County Health Department. And there's been at least 2 cities close their health departments and went with the county as well.
They provide a variety of services that you might not be aware of. You have to,
Yeah. Understand.
assess that. There are quite a few things that they do. They have helped us out substantially in some issues we've had in the past. We've worked closely with the Summit County Health Department.
So that is a good question.
It's $200,000 expenditure, and I'm just saying
But
rather than just roll through it every year, at some point, maybe we should pull the Kubota back and see what we got.
any other discussion? Did we call the roll on that one?
No.
We call the roll, please.
Trustee Dressler?
Yes.
Trustee Colner?
Yes.
Trustee Schulte?
Yes.
All right. Next, I have a motion to approve the February 2021 financial statements pending audit.
The February, is that correct?
February, yes.
So move, Colner.
Second, Jesselyn.
Any discussion? Ms. Murphy, call a roll, please.
The motion.
Oh, it's a motion, I'm sorry. I'll call for the motion.
Jessel, yes.
Colner, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Okay, motion to approve the March 2021 financial statements pending audit.
So move, Colner.
Second, Jessel.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Jessel, yes.
Colner, yes.
Schulte, yes.
And just to give you an update, the April, because I had to get these resolutions, I'm not asking for approval until everything is correct.
With the April, ma'am, there was an email with a list of questions and stuff.
Yeah,
Did you
that was all
respond back to
right.
that?
Oh, yeah. Janet,
Okay. I'm
Janice and
sorry.
I met and worked through everything.
So we'll wait for that for next meeting.
Yeah.
And there's a deadline coming up. Ms. Marshall, is there coming up in May that we have to, for our budget or something, we have to do something that we need the
Tax
financials up to date? What's that?
Tax budget?
Yes, the tax budget is due July 15th. So we need to be working on it now, and we usually use the financials to predict what we're going to do by the end of the year.
Okay.
But that's due to the county by July 15th, and so I think we have to have it approved by July 1st.
All right.
So that'll be in the June meeting.
In the June meeting? Okay. Thank you.
So with that, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Anything for Ms. Piper? Okay. Move on to, who's up next? Chief Bauer, are you next? I'm sorry, I put my agenda off to the side. Here it is. I'm sorry, Janice. Ms. Marshall?
My first request is regarding mobile food service vehicles. This is a discussion that we've been having in the last few public meetings and internally as well. So there's a popular thing are these food trucks. And we've been trying to regulate them to keep in mind that our businesses that have brick and mortar and so forth need to be protected. At the same time, we want to offer an opportunity to the food trucks to participate at different events in our township and so forth. So internally, we've met a number of different times. We've brought some suggestions to the board, and I believe we're ready to ask for approval of a resolution that indicates we have exhibits that are available for the rules and regulations of operating mobile food service vehicles. So the first exhibit would be the rules and regulations, and these are included, I believe, in your packet.
I don't see him, Janice. I'm sorry. I don't see the exhibit.
Yes,
The
I saw it
exhibit.
here.
Which one I can give?
Well, you know what, they may not be in there, but the rules and regulations for the food trucks, basically they are allowed to operate on commercial property with the permission of the property owner. If they are catering a private event on a commercial property, then they need to include signage that indicates they are not serving the public. Those food service vehicles also are able to, I wish I had them in front of me. So they're able to go on commercial properties. Thank you. So they do need written permission from the property owner. They must supply sufficient parking on site to allow for the safe pedestrian and vehicular traffic. A copy of the permit issued by Summit County Public Health is required at the time of application, and the food service vehicle must pass inspection by the Copley Township Fire Department. The mobile food service vendor must supply trash receptacles and dispose of trash collected and/or liquids, byproducts, or waste that's generated by the operation at the end of each day, with no dumping allowed. No accessory structures are permitted, including but not limited to picnic tables, chairs, and benches. Mobile food service vendors may operate from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. with permission from the property owner. The permit is valid for a total of 120 days from January 1 through December 31st, with no more than 40 consecutive days in one location. And a fee of $100 will be collected at the time of application for the entire calendar year. So these food service vendors that are hired to cater private events such as weddings, graduations, do not require a license. However, again, they must state that the event is not open to the public and must be clearly posted, and advertisement of the event is not permitted. Food service vehicles are also not permitted in residentially zoned areas in the township unless providing private catering services. The vehicles are strictly prohibited from operating on public roadways unless permission has been granted by the Copley Township Fire Department to close the road for a special event. However, any food service vendors invited to participate in township-sponsored events are not required to obtain a license. So we felt that this covered quite a few areas. We do have food vendors that are currently operating under our transient vendor permit rules and regulations. So they have come in and made application. The police department has conducted the background checks, and they have been issued a permit for 90 days. They paid $100 for the 90 days. The resolution suggests that they be grandfathered in to allow them to complete their 90-day permit, at the end of which they would fall under these rules and regulations. So for instance, I believe there's some food trucks that have been operating on residential streets. They do have permits to be able to do that under our old regulations. When their permits expire at 90 days, they will still have a permit, but will not be able to operate on residential streets. They would have to fall under these categories or these rules and regulations. So once application is made, the food service vehicle is, the application is inspected by the police department. They do a background check on the owner. The vehicle is inspected by the Copley Fire Department. We look at the Summit County Public Health Department permit. If all of that is in place, then they are given a permit that will last through December 31st. And again, they are able to operate 40 days consecutively in one location, 120 days total in the township. So I'm open to questions.
So first question, you said the transient vendor license for people that are operating on streets in residential neighborhoods at this point, that they're in for 90 days or grandfathered in, at which time they'll be rolled into this. But one of the conditions for this is that they have written permission from a property owner in a commercially zoned area.
Right, they would need to find another location to operate.
Okay.
They would not be permitted on the residential streets anymore. If they are in a residential area, in a driveway, it would be for a private catering party.
Yes, okay.
So yeah, they would
it
have
doesn't
to find a new location.
Everybody, so it's not a pure grandfather you're in.
No,
You're-
no, no, it's
you're-
just for the
yes.
period of time of their 90-day permit
Okay.
that they've been issued.
Okay. And then after the 90 days expires, they pay another $100 and get on this ticket.
We're not going to require them to pay another
Okay, that's-
$100, just require them to find another location.
I also had a conversation with the property owner that I think you did as well, that they were going to put a food truck on the commercial property, but that food truck owner was then going to also lease space for his dining. So lease a brick and mortar for his dining. Does that still fall under here or doesn't it?
It does not. That
Okay.
has fallen under zoning, and I believe our zoning department is handling that. It becomes then the cafe is the primary use of the building, and the food truck becomes the outdoor kitchen. So that they would not be permitted to operate as a food truck, they would be permitted to operate as a kitchen for the cafe that is inside the building, and that falls under the zoning department.
Right.
Any other questions? Do you want us to pass it today? Or
Yeah.
you're asking for approval or corrections or additions, correct?
Yes, we did have legal counsel take a look at it. He was comfortable with the resolution and the attached documents. So there is the rules and regulations, there's an application and a permit that goes all along with this. The resolution is asking to approve those exhibits and to also grandfather in those who have already received a transient vendor permit for their 90-day period.
The transient vendor permitting, does that language need changed to exclude food trucks at this point?
I don't think
I don't think it doesn't say anything about food trucks in there.
Is it silent? That's my point.
Yeah, it is silent to food trucks,
Okay.
and it pretty much talks about door-to-door solicitation,
Okay.
which is why we felt we needed a new type of rules and regulation, because
Yeah.
they're not going door to
Right.
door. And there are different concerns that they have that door-to-door salesmen don't.
Okay. How many current 90-day licenses are out there? Do we know?
I would want to say about 8.
Okay.
Chief, do you think that's a good estimate?
About half a dozen.
Okay.
And the original transient vendor that spoke to being out and about the streets of community sales and or establishing a temporary base of business, which could be interpreted as selling something from a corner lot.
Right.
It's a food trucks. Because that's become the new thing. It's something that creates control.
Right. I guess I'm just thinking that maybe the transient rules
Yeah.
need a clarification that says these rules do not apply to food trucks.
Yeah, we could look at that.
I think we might want to go back and take a look at it. Just clarify that
Yeah.
food trucks, this isn't your bucket, cup of tea here, it's over here.
Looks like David might have something to say. Unmuted.
David, did you hear that?
Firestein, were you wanting to partake?
Yeah, yeah, we looked at whether or not we needed to incorporate it into the transient section. And I think, as Janice indicated before, the food truck will clearly apply to all food trucks. And then transient would apply to anybody that's not that's not a food truck. So I think if you look at it that way, I think it's covered well.
Okay.
For the public, that was the township legal counsel, Mr. Dave Firestein. Any other discussion?
Just one more. So these 6 to 8 current vendors that are out there, have they been consulted at all? Do we have any input from them?
They have been told all about the different regulations that are being proposed. Obviously, they're not completely thrilled about all of them. We do have people that would like to be on residential streets at the invite of a resident. We also have residents that love having the food truck there, but I would anticipate we also have residents that don't care to have a food truck in their cul-de-sac every Tuesday and Thursday from 6 to 8. So we have taken their thoughts into consideration.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, the one-time $100 fee is a result of that. We didn't feel that we needed to charge an additional $100 every time they came in. The extension of having that permit for the entire calendar year is a thought of theirs that we incorporated as well. But we did want to restrict it somewhat to have 120 days total, not just have a food truck set up for a whole calendar year and a parking lot and not have any restrictions on it.
Okay.
I agree with the residential things. There, you know, 1 or 2 residents might be fine with it. The rest of the neighborhoods might not. So I don't want to, it's definitely a commercial thing. Needs to be in a commercial high traffic area.
Does this food truck license give that vendor a license to participate at township-sponsored events, like the bandstand, for example?
So if it is a township-sponsored event and they're invited to participate, they don't need a permit. But I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
they would be allowed to participate if they did have a permit as well. But if it's a vendor that has never done any other business in the township, and Heritage Days find somebody in Cleveland they want to invite for that day, they don't need to have a permit.
Right, I guess I'm looking at it from the other perspective. Do these food trucks, I mean, a customer base by coming to the township events?
Well, they would have to get written permission to park somewhere. So if they're going to park on township property, that permission would come from us. If they're going to park on adjacent property, which they probably do. I'm thinking of the Circle. If they asked Mr. Walter to picket somebody for permission to park at Walterville, they might get it. And so we have no real control over that. If there's an
They would
event,
need a permit.
right, if they got a permit, right, if they got the permit and supplied the written permission from Mr. Walter.
I'm thinking about, for example, we had the antique car show at the park. You know, it'd be nice if these people are already paying a vendor's license, if they had a free invite to come and set up at the auto show.
And we could do that, correct?
Yeah,
We're inviting them.
people who are running those events would certainly be able to choose them as an option.
Okay,
I think that would be better handled informally rather than drafting that into the legislation. Because you may have you may have all either wildly unpopular or oddball, or something that appeals and finds a commercial spot, but the township doesn't want at its own event. So rather than just automatically inviting them to township events, I think you could make it a case by case thing.
With that, I'll make a motion that we approve the food truck permit system as written.
second Schulte.
Any further discussion? Do we need a resolution for that or
There is a resolution,
Okay.
number 40.
number 48? Okay. Ms. Pfeiffer, recall the roll, please.
Trustee Dressler?
Yes.
Trustee Colner?
Yes.
Trustee Schulte?
Yes,
That was resolution
48.
48.
Okay, next I would like to request a motion to approve scheduling an additional movie night for Heritage Days on August 6, 2021. At the last meeting, you did approve a movie night for June 26th to be held at Copley Community Park. So plans are underway for holding that. We also got a request from the Heritage Day Committee to have another movie night on the Friday night before Heritage Days, which is August 6th, to be held at Copley Middle School. The park will be getting set up and ready for Heritage Days, but they wanted to include a family event before the Saturday events. And we've checked it out and are able to do that on August 6th at Copley Middle School.
so move Schulte.
Second, Coleman. Any other discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Dressler, yes.
Colner, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Thank you. Next, I would like just your input surrounding the lifting of restrictions regarding COVID and the health orders in township facilities. So the governor has lifted or has said he will lift all orders effective June 2nd. Right now, if you're fully vaccinated, you are not required to wear a mask, but each business and each entity can decide if masks will be required. Summit County Public Health has suggested that there are individuals who are unable to be vaccinated due to health reasons, children, those with immune deficiency, And so they are suggesting that perhaps if a business wants to keep people wearing masks, that would be protective of those individuals that are unable to get vaccinated. So I wanted your input here at the town hall. Employees currently are wearing masks. They currently wash their hands and take their temperatures every morning and are practicing social distancing. So my thought is that we would lift those orders June 2nd, but I didn't know how you felt about continuing masks.
Bruce, how do you think I feel?
Well, probably as my wife feels, she wants me to continue to wear a mask, so maybe you guys don't have to, but I'll have to. I'm a hook.
You can
Yeah,
do whatever you
purely
want at
aesthetics.
home.
She said
Put
something
this
about
on.
it
She's been telling
supports
you that
my
for
third
years.
chin. So if I wear it lower, it supports my chin. But anyway, I would just go with the governor's orders. I would also ask that either we notify the general public or place in on the door or someplace in that's readable by the public. If somebody comes in and wants to deal with any of our employees that feels uncomfortable, not with us not wearing a mask, that we would wear a mask in their presence. So if we have somebody that comes in who's not comfortable with dealing with us face to face with a mask, you would don a mask. There, Mr. Klein, just thinking about if a general public comes in for a zoning permit, they're wearing a mask, you might want to ask them, do you want me to wear a mask as well? But other than that, I would go in accordance with the governor's orders when it happens on probably June 2nd.
I'm fine with that.
Okay with that? There is a concern. There are people who are not allowed to get the vaccine that are compromised in some fashion. And remember, the mask doesn't help you from getting it. It keeps you from giving it, is what the theory is. Okay. Do we need a vote on that?
No.
Okay. Is that okay with you? I'm getting the evil eye over here. Okay, we'll move forward. Was that clear enough for you, Ms. Marshall?
Yes.
Okay.
We're all in agreement.
I don't know.
A
We're not
majority of us
voting.
are in agreement with that.
I lifting the mask on June 2nd, if not before. I'm in favor of that, yes.
If I may, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Still continue to spray the buildings twice a week.
Okay.
Disinfect too, so that's also.
Okay. Okay.
We're informed. We are continuing. And will continue.
When was there anything in the governor's? I didn't hear anything about that for the governor's orders. Was there anything in that or a recommendation from the health department? I'm sorry.
Same
Okay.
thing with our air filters. So I
Yeah.
think,
I mean, true,
Still have all those still up.
truly, I think some of the things that have been dumped on us because of this pandemic are good for us.
Mhm.
And some of the sanitation issues we've taken here in the township make a lot of sense, COVID or not COVID. Absolutely, that makes great sense.
We reopened the office in May 4th of a year ago and successful. And on each little part is helped, so.
I did speak with Ms. Marshall about another part of this, and that was the GoToMeeting thing that we're using here. It's pretty evident that virtual meetings for businesses is probably here to stay regardless of pandemic conditions. So I would continue to make that available to entities that want to present but can't be here. We've had county entities and stuff come in and want to talk about their levies. I have no issue with them presenting virtually. Do you folks? Would you? We do have the program we just purchased to live stream our events, but doesn't give the two-way interaction capability.
I have no problems with that at all, Bruce.
That's
It makes us more efficient, that's what
The
we should do.
state can potentially rescind the virtual voting for public boards. But they have-
That might go
Well,
away.
Currently, it is to expire
Expire.
July 1st.
Right.
There's a motion in the House to extend it to December 31st, but that has not been passed yet. So right now, July 1st public meetings need to be held in the public. And so any voting would need to take place in person.
But presentations, our legal counsel could still connect via
Right.
the internet.
Yeah, and you
So,
can do everything else.
Yeah.
It's the voting
Yeah.
in public as a board.
Yeah.
Which in person, not.
I was thinking of
Virtual is still public, but in person.
there have been issues in the past, when Route 21 issue, closing Minor Road, that we might want to have a representative from ODOT that won't come to the meeting, but we might be able to get them to come virtually.
or the
So,
city of Akron, for example. Yeah.
yeah, correct. Okay. So we're okay with that, Ms. Marshall. We'll keep that available to those for entities that want to join our meeting or present virtually, correct?
That's fine.
Okay. All right.
Next, I provided a list of the 2021 capital projects. It was requested to review this every meeting. My thought being that I'll provide this list at the meetings. If there's something new that the department heads need to report on, they will do that during their segment of the meeting. But this gives you an overall view. If nothing has been done since the last meeting, I don't think we need to keep reviewing the same information. So if there's something new, then you see it on this list, and they will mention it in their,
Yeah,
That's a great approach because last meeting lasted 4 hours. Thank you.
yes, certainly.
there's 48 items on there.
And so in that vein, I do not have anything to report that's new on capital projects in the administration. And lastly, I'd like to request an executive session to discuss benefits of personnel in all departments.
Anything else for Ms. Marshall?
No.
Thank you, ma'am. Chief Bauer.
Good evening, everyone. In fairness to my colleagues, 3.5 of those 4 hours was me.
I thought it was Chief Meyer.
He does have his, he has his night. So I touched on this at the last meeting. We are asking to spend about $12,000 for costs associated with our hydrant maintenance program. As I mentioned before, the one thing that Akron Water does not do in any way, shape, or form is worry about the aesthetics of our hydrants. So a lot of this is going to be paint. And while we're out there, we're also going to be exercising greasing as we need to. Really no sense in being there, having our hands on the hydrants. You know? I have found, to be quite honest, I found some inconsistencies in the reports that we get from Akron Water as to the veracity of their maintenance program. So when we do put our hands on these hydrants, open them up, exercise them, we find repairs needed. And it seems to me that if they were doing what they say they were doing, they would be noting those repairs and doing it. So having said that, and pending different guidance from the board, we would like approval of that. What we do most years.
I'll move for purposes of discussion.
Just a second.
We try not to do more than we need to. Obviously.
You have a
Chief-
question, sir?
I do. So Chief Bauer, in our joint economic development district agreement with the city of Akron, I believe the maintenance falls on the city of Akron, doesn't it?
It does.
And I know we've been down this path before, but maybe for the record and to refresh my memory, is Akron participating in that cost?
No, they do not. If you're saying, do they remunerate or reimburse in any way? No.
Okay,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but they have stated that what they do is what you stated they have done or do is all they ever do, and then they're not going to do anymore. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, but I also want to make sure that being clear, I have trouble believing that what they report to us that they do, they are actually doing.
so, and it would be hard for them to do this over a Zoom call, this fire hydrant maintenance.
It would. Now, the other thing that I think is eliminating, we should be eliminating, is when they're flowing hydrants, that's done at night. So.
Okay.
Chip, what fund would you be taking this out of?
Ms. Marshall, is that on the?
Yes,
It
it's
is.
number 1,110,323.
1,000 for general fund.
Chief Howard, did you budget for this?
Yes.
It is in your, was.
It is not, so this is coming out of the general fund. If you would like to come out of the fire department fund,
We would need to change.
we would need to change it. This is
It's
always-
currently in permanent appropriations for the general fund, repairs and maintenance.
Huh.
It always.
It always has been.
It used to come out of the JED fund. But then that was earmarked for capital improvements.
Right.
Now, for the last
Well,
few
primary
years,
started
it's
as a
general
painting.
But it was always been painting and maintenance. Right, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
it's made keep the thunder, but it was always
No, I mean, the primary cost is. Originally.
Cost is the labor,
labor.
Right. It's for painting.
and, right, and the cost this year is more than it has been, simply because of, we can't get anybody for what we were paying last
Labor shortage.
So would it be appropriate that if we, since this was budgeted in the general fund, and if we pass this resolution from, and have the money come out of the general fund, I think it's also appropriate that we then bill the city of Akron for this $12,000 and have the general fund reimbursed. Can we make that part of this resolution, please?
Well, I can tell you, I was involved with this
Yes,
while I was
I know.
employed, and you're wasting ink. I don't care.
We need to send them a bill. If they choose not to pay it, that's up to them, but we need to send them a bill.
I don't have an issue with that. Mr. Dresser, do you have an issue with it?
That's fine.
I can tell you with confidence that we find problems that would not be found if we were not.
And it's not just the $12,000 that I would want the city of Akron to ultimately pay, but when you find a subsequent problem and you expend additional funds to fix that problem,
Well.
that needs to be on the city's dime, not on the
It
township
is.
side. Okay,
It is. They repair anything that we find. They're very good about it.
okay. All right,
So you might want to do an itemized bill showing broken stems, frozen caps, and other deficiencies to show that we actually did our work as well. You know what I mean?
Well, we're not doing those repairs.
No, I'm saying showing that we found them.
Right.
Well, they get reported anyway because you
Yeah,
report it to
that's-
them.
that's what
Yeah,
I'm
you're
saying.
right.
We send that to them,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. Sorry.
then when those are fixed, they let us know. Johnny Smith handles that program every year. He's very good.
So we're doing, we want to change the resolution to include a billing process to go back to the city of Akron. Is that accurate?
yes, sir.
Mr. Dresser, you seconded the motion, or you want to amend that?
That's fine.
Any other discussion? Ms. Piper, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Dressler,
Yes.
trustee Colner,
Yes.
trustee Schultz,
Yes. Was that 49?
Yes.
Thank you. The next resolution is to approve a purchase order to Polytech for the consulting and the assessment for a promotional assessment and this language may not have made it into the resolution, but it should also be for hiring. So assessment, promotional assessment and hiring in the fire department. And the reason the language is important is because it allows us flexibility depending on interest that we get or don't get in the assistant chief.
So move Schulte.
Second, Dressler.
Any discussion?
I don't understand.
That means that, and it may not have to be this specific, but it means that if we want to do an assessment for hiring full-time, versus.
That's included in this
Yes,
12,000?
And was this budgeted for in your March budget?
yes. I believe we budgeted 30,000.
Actually, I think it was 23, but this is well under.
You actually are reading the financial reports?
Yeah, I read the financial reports.
I'm sorry, who did the motion?
Schulte made the motion, second by Dresser. Okay. Ms. Piper, you call the roll, please.
Yeah, that was resolution 50. Trustee Dressler?
Yes.
Trustee Colner?
Yes.
Trustee Schultz?
Yes.
Thank you. Next resolution I have for your consideration is the approval of a purchase order to F&M Mechanical Services in the amount of $4,500 to repair the vehicle exhaust system in the fire base at Station 1. This only affects one bank. That is, we've got one side of our base is handled by one part of the system, and the other part is, it's the other part. So, Mr. Mitchell can attest to the noise that is associated with the problems that we're having. And it is a very important part of our safety precautions against inhalation dangers and carcinogens for our personnel.
So moved, Schulte.
Second, Colner. Discussion? What happened? Which unit is it?
I don't know if it's the front or the back. Mark, do you remember?
The north unit, the
Yeah,
smaller?
so the front, what I would consider the front.
What happened to it?
The bearings are running out in the motor.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. We
Okay.
took it down. It was making some noise late last year, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah, it was minor then, and
Yeah.
you kind of put
Making
it
some
off.
noise, so we took it down, took the motor to get bearings put in. They could do the front bearings, but they couldn't do the rear. So the cage system that was on it. And
Mhm.
so it was put back up and it was, seemed to be working okay. Just lately here, it's just getting louder and louder. And I think vibrating more and more. So it's gonna come apart.
How long will it be down? I said, you're going to put a rebuilt motor on it or another motor, correct?
No, they're going everywhere. F&M is going everywhere.
Correct, but how long are they going to be out of service?
Keith, the other thing is they're looking at a price hike as of June 1st. So if they can order the parts, we're going to save a little bit of money versus waiting. So we'll ask Ms. Piper for a purchase order number as soon as we can get it. and
Sure.
Get these parts ordered tomorrow.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Ms. Piper, you call the roll. This was not in your budget, correct?
It is in our budget, yes.
It's part of repair and maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's resolution 51. Trustee Dressler?
Yes.
Trustee Colner?
Yes.
Trustee Schultz?
Yes.
Thanks. Next item for consideration is a motion to approve the selling by auction of our 2008 Ron ambulance. on Deals. Estimated value $8,500. Because it's more than $2,500, we will advertise this according to the Ohio Revised Code. as we normally do. This is due to the purchase of our new squads. We chose, part of the reason why we chose to get rid of this one is because the box is not in very good condition. If down the road we choose to do a re-chassis, the box keeping on our other older squad is in better shape.
So moved, Schulte.
Second, Dressel.
Any other discussion? We'll call for the vote.
Dressel, yes.
Colner, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Thank you. I don't have any news on capital projects. Over time, the numbers did what I think about 3 weeks ago, so that's pretty decent. And I'm just asking for an executive session to discuss employment personnel.
Okay, so next meeting, we'll have the overtime report as part of the monthly report. Thank you, sir.
Is that the plan to do it once a month, first meeting of the month?
With the
We
monthly
could-
reports, that's
We can do
okay.
that, yeah.
whatever the board wants.
if that's possible.
Current period, prior year, you know.
It would be, I would ask this. Could we do the monthly overtime in number of hours and then do the percentage of total payroll quarterly basis? Because doing that is a lot more time.
That's fine, as long as we get the prior year overtime hours versus the current year.
That's not.
And that gives the number of calls that you're responding to some context for us as far as, okay, here's the amount of overtime it took to handle this incremental amount of calls. That's really what I'm after.
I think we'd like, when you say percentage of payroll, is it percentage of full-time payroll?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Anything further for Chief Bauer?
Just make sure Keely gets that requisition in so we can get the PO for you.
Thank you, sir. Chief Meyer. Were you timing that one?
Wow.
Not bad.
He had three resolutions and a motion, and he got through pretty quick, yeah.
You're gonna make them come back up.
Was one of them jumping off a bridge?
No,
No.
that's gonna be the next.
All right.
Okay, we have we're requesting a blanket certificate in the amount of $5,000 for training expenses in the police department.
So move, Kohler.
Second, Johnson.
Chief, can you explain what all you're planning to fit into that 5,000 and if this
It's
is
just
part of your
it's
budget?
Ongoing, we have some trainings planned, but it's also ongoing as trainings present themselves, so that just to benefit. I can't give you any specifics right now.
Was this budgeted for?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. Ms. Pfeiffer, your call the roll, please.
That'll be resolution 52. Trustee Dressler,
Yes.
trustee Kohler,
Yes.
trustee Schultz.
Yes.
Thanks. With regard to the capital projects update, the cell phone forensics that you previously approved has been purchased, has been received, and the officers that will be trained in that will be conducting that training, I believe, next week. So they'll be able to operate that system here shortly. The dash cameras that you approved prior this year have been ordered. We're waiting for those on delivery. The drug incinerator that you approved at a prior meeting has been ordered. They do not make that until we place the order. So we place the order and sent 50% down, so they're starting to build that. And the police station repairs report that you requested is in the works. And I believe that Jeff Newman from Community Economic Development sent a message through today with an update.
We did receive that. And I viewed the pictures of the conditions of the building. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's all.
The update on Safety Town is that we have approximately right now 70 children signed up and 18 volunteers that will be participating. All of the Safety Town students have requested to attend in person, so we decided not to do the virtual version. There is no interest, and if anybody comes at this point in time. We still have applications coming in, but the opening day of Safety Town will be June 7th, so we're ready to go. And I would like to request an executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel, specifically promotions and employment in the police.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Anything else for Chief Meyer?
Unless we want to talk about the repairs to the police station now. Or Mark, are you prepared to talk about that in your presentation?
Not extensively, no. We sent the report to you today.
Okay.
The pictures. I did ask Mr. Newman to ask the consultant that came out and looked at the building if he would be willing to put together a bid package or specifications, everything that we need to repair that building.
Okay.
And so he's going to ask them, and we don't know if he's going to charge us. He did say one time, no charge, but we'll says that.
Okay.
So when he comes back, if he doesn't charge, then I'll come to the board and request that we get a purchase order to engage him to put together the specifications.
And he's going to do it hopefully in a way that the different pieces of the repairs can be done separately. For example, the roof versus the windows could go out separately to keep our costs down if we wanted to,
Right. In
yeah,
stages or phases.
okay. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. All right, sir, thank you. Mr. Mitchell, there are a bunch of repairs needing there in there. There's some
Oh, yeah,
pretty bad conditions.
bad conditions. One example would be the windows, those windows were wood windows, basically a homeowner window. Not really seen in commercial buildings. Those are usually aluminum or a metal kind of window frame. So they're not in good shape. Just going to add up very quickly, I think. First motion I have for the board tonight would be request to submit a request for engineering form to Summit County engineer to determine the proper pipe sizing for the replacement of a culvert pipe under 2500 South Town Road that conveys stormwater runoff for Spicer Ditch 42. As you may recall, Mr. Kirk from 2430 Town Road, he's in the audience today, requested that we take a look at that culvert pipe because of drainage issues. So Mr. Blacknick and I did go out and take a look at it. That pipe's been there for decades. So not sure if it needs to be upsized. I know that Mr. Kirk has gone in there and found some deterioration in it. There is a sinkhole starting on the east side of the road. So it is in need of replacement, and not to just go ahead and replace the same size. So I'd like the engineer to give me proper sizing on that, and then we'll go ahead and replace that.
So move Schulte.
Second.
Dressler.
Good. Your second dresser, okay?
That's our pipe,
That's our pipe.
right?
So fill me in on how that goes. You'll ask for
I'll ask for a request for engineer, send in the request for engineering form,
how long does that normally take?
just a couple weeks maybe, at
Okay.
the most. They're going to send somebody out to take a look at it, may do a short drainage study just to see, if the pipe sizing is correct for the runoff in that area. Spicer Ditch drains everything south of Stimson Road, west of Town Road. It goes underneath Town at that address, goes continue east almost all the way to 21, abruptly turns to the north, goes under Stimson Road, back under Town Road again, and then follows a path behind all the properties on the west side of Town up to Minor Road. Crosses under Minor Road, goes into the Barberton floodplain for the reservoir, joins up with Wolf Creek right at the west side of Route 21, goes under 21 and then down into Barberton Reservoir. So it carries a lot of water coming through there. I don't think there's been any new construction. Mr. Kirk said that there has been to increase runoff in that area, but no matter, we want to get the proper sizing of the pipe before we just
So
replace it in kind.
once it's sized, then it's up to us to open the road.
Well, we can do it by force account. We can do it ourselves. It's something that we've done before.
Okay,
We've replaced culvert pipes, crossover pipes. We did the one at Town and Minor Road.
Okay.
So it's something that we can handle.
okay, great. Thank you, sir.
So it'd be a request to submit a request for engineering to Summit County engineer to determine proper pipe sizing of the pipe under 2500 South Town Road.
Okay, and that's what the motion's for.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Dressler, yes.
Colner, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Of course. Right. The reason why I'm giving you that one is because I did have other here, but I also need to mark this culvert hydraulic analysis pipe sizing. So a little bit beside that. Next motion I have is to approve waiving of rental fees for the pavilion rentals for the Copley community, at the Copley Community Park for Copley Chamber of Commerce when holding monthly membership meetings effective June 2021 through September 2021.
So move Schulte.
Second, Jesselman.
Any discussion?
We permanently waived all fees for nonprofits, for zoning.
Those were,
things like
those
that.
are permits though.
Yeah, that was all permanent, but we
Yeah,
didn't,
not
we didn't do it for
Not
usage of our park.
Any
Okay.
waiving of fees must come through the board.
Okay, unless we make it permanent.
Which we have for permits, like
So,
Kiwanis Flower Show and stuff.
So the chamber has been meeting at the hub, and then with COVID, we're doing
Yeah.
Zoom meetings. They would like to reconvene. The hub isn't available without a lot of restrictions until possibly October, so they
Okay.
thought they would meet outside
yeah, of course,
and want to use the pavilion.
of course. And really, we should probably consider a motion in the future to waive any rental fees for any not-for-profit that's headquartered in our township. But for now, obviously, this is a yes, right? So,
I would do that, but I would also come to the board and let you know each individual event. So that
Thank
you
you.
know that that particular event is being waived.
Okay. Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Jesselman, yes.
Kohler, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Next item is a discussion on the speed tables or speed calming devices throughout the township. I did contact Dave Poulet from AMATS, and he steered me towards Traffic Logics. I did speak with them. That's a company that manufactures the rubberized speed hump, speed tables that a lot of communities, City of Akron uses. We talked about humps versus speed tables. The difference is a hump is just a graduated up and then back down again. Speed table is a ramp up, flat, and then ramp down. Speed humps, yeah, there's a speed hump for you. That has a 4-inch rise in the middle. And like I say, it's just a ramp up and then a ramp back down. Comes in several individual pieces. Requires about 200 bolts to secure that to the road surface. About 14 feet long in travel length, 18 feet wide. So as you can see on that picture, it allows stormwater to flow past both sides of it in either direction. They are a little less expensive than the speed tables and a little bit more popular. I think the next picture I have is of the speed table.
Can you explain the popularity comment?
Well,
Popular for the driver?
cost-wise.
Pardon?
Cost-
I mean, it's acceptable to the neighbor.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Oops,
Not too far.
went too far. And that's a speed table. That's a ramp up with a flat, and then a ramp down. Again, they're about 14 feet travel distance, 18 feet wide. A little bit more expensive, just about the same in a number of bolts, I imagine, 200 to hold it in place. It is removable. Both of these units are removable for the winter time for plowing. The rep at Traffic Logics doesn't seem to think that they would need to be removed, but I differ with him because you're pushing a steel plow across the piece of rubber, it's going to grip. It's going to tear that front edge up a little bit.
But if you're selling speed tables, that's a good answer.
I'm sorry.
If you're selling speed tables, that's a good answer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you don't have to take them back out.
What kind of depth are the bolts?
That I don't know. I haven't got specifications for that yet.
That's gonna be
Well,
Take 'em out.
that has a 3-inch rise in the middle, so I would imagine it's probably going to be at least a 6 or an 8-inch length of a bolt. You've got to go through 3 inches of this table, then you've got to have a substantial amount in underneath. Like I say, that's got a 3-inch rise in the middle. The speed hump has a 4-inch rise in the middle, so it's a little bit more pronounced when you go over it.
I looked a little, AMAT, did they say how many, did they have a number of speed tables in Summit County that are in place? 'Cause
I didn't ask whether. how
I know
many
it was,
they
it
had.
became noticed when Akron said they're putting some in, but the whole city of Akron now, or other communities, how common are the hump versus the table, or they don't seem very common at all.
Well, Akron has 2 speed tables on Shockalot. I don't know of any others throughout the town. I'm sorry I didn't ask that question Fairlawn put in a couple of speed humps for the construction on Cleveland Maslin. That go down Elgin Road. Which would be better? I think the speed hump would be better because it's a higher, I think it gets your attention a little bit more. I know it's only 1 inch difference, but you go up and you drop straight down again. A lot of the speed tables, I was told, are used sometimes in conjunction with a crosswalk at the same place. So the crosswalk goes right across the top of it. But I think the speed humps might be better. I did ask if they need any kind of an engineering study done or placement, things of that nature, and was told that they did not. City of Akron used radar trailer data to locate where they want it, and also just from Akron PD, just as Chief Myers doing. We know where our problems are. That's where we will start putting those in. Speed humps run $4,000 a piece. The speed tables are $4,200. So there's not a whole lot of difference in price. But that picture there shows you some pavement markings for the speed table. The ODOT manual requires that we have a graduated, well, I should back up and says you may use a pavement markings, which would be a graduated set of dashes. Start out small, farther apart. As you get closer, they get wider and more closer together. So you can see the 3 in the background. They're a lot closer. So it just kind of tells your mind that something's coming up. We'll also have to have advanced warning signs of the speed hump or table in the distance, and then have one right at that speed hump or speed table. So we got to have some fairly good distance there. Obviously, we're not putting them on any kind of a turn or curve, so they'd be on a straightaway. Just which straightaway do we put them first?
And the markings on the pavement are optional.
They are optional, yes. You can use that, but the signage is not.
So
So
you have to have the signage. Right. Okay.
even if we didn't have to have the sign, these are new.
Yes.
And it's going to be something that somebody has to drive over,
Yeah.
put an advanced sign and then a sign, just like you do at the school crosswalk, that type of thing. So people know it's there. The pavement markings are optional, so.
Some information I read at you, and you mentioned personal good or speed trailers or collecting speed data. We're gonna do that. How many cars, how fast they're going at certain areas, locations, and then also mentioned, or you survey a neighborhood.
Well, yeah, I was going to actually mention that, Scott. That's a good point.
Right.
I think collectively, we based on prior complaints and calls the township has gotten, we have an idea where we believe these need to go. But I think it's fair, and I think a hurdle to get one of these on your street would be that we survey the neighbors in the immediate area of that street. And we have I don't know if it's a simple majority or a unanimity or something in between, where the people on that street say, yes, put the darn speed table in. I don't think it should be a situation where a single resident can approach the town hall and say, and get a speed table. It has to be a little bit more to that. And it needs to be more than just the three
That's
of
something
us.
that we can do. We can
Concur.
send out letters if you like. Or you want to do a township wide type of thing.
Well, I think for now, I think the logical thing, my opinion, and obviously I'm one of 3, but my opinion would be to go with the streets that we think
know.
we want them, and to send out notices to the immediate residents of that immediate area of where we would put them, and ask for their opinion, a thumbs up or a thumbs down, to make sure we're doing what the residents want.
And with that, what number would you use as,
How
yes,
far
we're
away?
going to go ahead and put it in. We get 51% wants it and 49 don't.
Well, you may get a limited response, but
True.
the other part is, if they're temporary,
People,
you can, you could take, we could do 1 or 2, see the effectiveness, and then move them, and you can put them back or take them out, but to see the effect. We've discussed this on numerous occasions. We looked at other nationwide communities, the cut-through streets are the common, and I've lived on that, and you have So those aren't the people that live there. But then the other part is the people that live there are the ones driving over. So, but a lot of times you talk to Chief Meyer, those are the people that are speeding. They call to complain and then they're writing tickets for their neighbor.
My wife.
But I think we had an incident in the past when the residents.
So I think if we look at it, say we're gonna do it, try it, I think it's worth it, definitely worth trying and see the effect, because the previous ones were not, they would have put temporary, you were a different commitment. I think just like putting speed trailers or speed signs in where we move them around to test and see what their reaction is, and we drive over them ourselves and see what they're like. That's what I want to do.
I have two questions. First of all, has anybody discussed the labor hours to install?
No, I would actually go over and talk to the city of Fairlawn and see how long it took them to do that. I think it took them a good day and a half to do it.
That's what I'm wondering.
Where
We're
we
talking
have
about
to close the road
We're gonna
down.
drill.
Yeah, and then I'm guessing,
You drill and then there's a sleeve that goes in and then
Right.
it spreads as, an anchor bolt.
correct. My belief would be that you will never line those up the second time.
It's very possible.
Right,
That's why I'm not really an advocate of moving them.
right. And I would like to know that, and I would also like to know, if we start riddling the place with holes, you're gonna end up tearing the road up. So,
Right.
Right.
so moving them, I would like to know, do they sit back in the same place? I'm guessing you don't. They're rubber,
I
or
think you'd probably
plastic
have
material.
to number each piece,
Right,
and set it up on a grid. Okay, this piece goes
This
right
is
back like you're
difficult.
taking apart a,
Move it over.
yeah.
Just redo it.
and then what's the labor hours to do that? I would like to know that.
I have
before we
not
start
gone
moving.
that far, but I will get that.
You might be able.
Yeah.
Another comment I would want to make, and this is to Mr. Klein. You think your personnel would be suitable for reaching out to the streets and stuff and ascertain, as you do a lot of our PR work, public relations stuff? What do you think about that? What would you think about that, Mr. Mitchell?
Well, I think we determine how we want to contact the residents. Is that what you mean?
Well, I was wondering if, I don't know. I don't know if we want to do a social media thing or if we want to reach out to each individual address. Let's say we're doing it on Carl or on Cotswold. Would we send a letter to each one of the residents on there? Would we reach out to them with a phone call?
So I would reach out.
That's what I'm asking. I don't know what's the best way to do it. So
We've been talking about a couple different options with that program that we talked to them about, doing business and organization outreach and also doing resident outreach. So we've got some staff here at the time that are looking at options on how to do outreach with, like I said, not only business residents. We definitely do mailing, we do social media, we've got the neighborhood ambassadors for that area that we can contact, who, looking for an HOA chain or an email chain. So we can definitely use our resources as well to help out and get the word out.
once you
I'm
use,
fine with that.
use them as a resource at least,
It's
if
already
not,
set
let
there.
them, yeah.
It's already set up.
Yeah.
I will use it.
All right. Any other questions about tables or speed bumps?
No, I just, I almost want to table a motion right now to acquire some, but I don't know how many we would buy.
Well, I think we're moving in that direction, but I'm ready to move.
I
if we
think
get some other
either they're-
information.
Yeah.
You think we're,
I had guessed 5,000, it's 4,000 plus labor for each one, something like.
yeah, do you think we're a meeting premature, or do you want to vote on acquiring 2 or 3 of them right now?
I would like to get a little more information.
I think I'd like to kind of have more specific number.
Okay.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
1 or 2 versus 4.
All right.
There's a lot of areas we could use them. And
My only concern is the summer months are the worst months, and June's upon us.
Yeah.
And as Chief Meyer knows, now we're starting to get the calls to the town hall. So I want to be responsive to our residents and not drag this into
Yeah.
a meeting after meeting process.
Yeah.
So if we're not going to vote on something tonight, I really request my fellow trustees
I
that
think
we
you should
make something
talk to
happen
them,
next meeting.
Discuss it with, even what effect is the buses on it will be and what's it gonna. the schools to know. The school has specific areas they.
I saw the Copley Fairlawn buses going over the speed humps on Elgin and Rosemont Boulevard today and yesterday, earlier this week, I should say.
So maybe
So-
we can use these 2 weeks to do some of the surveying of us. Pick 2 specific neighborhoods that Chief Meyer feels are the worst, and we can even get that survey information so that we know for sure this neighborhood does want it. If it's coming back overwhelmingly no, then we would move on to another neighborhood. So maybe
Yeah.
we could make a recommendation as to which neighborhoods, two ramps, 2 whatever, to have it be a little bit more specific. So that-
So having said that, there's going to be a lead time on ordering these things. They're not going to show up tomorrow. I would think that's fair. So, well, we may not know where they're ultimately destined to be installed.
We could have them sitting here.
It'd be good to have them in stock.
But we would also have the time to know how many bolts and how much labor and for each type of item, you know, the table or a ramp. The bumps looked to be a lot smaller to me on Elgin Road than this.
Yeah, there's more, it's just like a
Yeah.
rounded over. These are a little bit more longer
Mhm.
and I think have a higher rise. I have not seen the one on Elgin. I've seen a
it when
picture of it.
you know it when you've gone over.
Yeah. How many were on Elgin? One?
I've only seen.
Yeah, there's
Just
one on
the
Elgin, one on Rosemont Boulevard. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, you know, kids are getting out of school now. This is a now issue, not something we want to push to the end of June. So
Well, then which would you prefer? And then how many by 2 of them?
Unfortunately, I'm sorry, I'm not ready to make that decision on it yet, because there's a couple of other things. If there's a price break, if we buy 5, it is substantial. I'd want to know that as well. So I agree with you fully.
Okay.
I'll take full blame that this has come up in the past and we looked at options, but never pulled the trigger on anything. And I do like this newer option. And with Akron buying a bunch of them and testing them out, that's reason for me to
They kinda
move
did our
now.
work for us.
I wish this was March and doing it then, but it's not. So
we're not blazing any trails here. But if it takes next meeting, I guess I'm imploring you that at next
I'd be
meeting, we'd be
ready.
ready to vote on something.
if we get the information back, I would be ready.
Okay. Briefly, some of the capital projects, 5-ton truck is on order. And we do have a slot at Glen Hill to get it built, so we should have that probably after the first of the year, 2022. The park light poles, NOPED grant, they're on order also from Ryther Purdy. They do not sell directly, so I ordered them through Apex Electric. And estimated time on those is 6 to 8 weeks. I'm meeting tomorrow with a roofer for the depot and the pole barn roof, and I've got another one coming in a couple days to give me another estimate. So I should have something hopefully by the next meeting. Park security cameras, I've not moved on that yet. And I don't know if we're going to be able to tie in with the police department. I don't think we're going to be able to. I just don't think we have the sight lines and the internet. I don't think we can route that through. I'd have to pay somebody to see if they could route that internet line from Copley Road back to our building. I haven't gotten that cost on that yet. I don't mind going ahead and just getting the cameras for the park and then just have the recording system in our building would be one thing, but I don't think we're going to be able to tie in with him. And that's all I have on capital projects. And I too would like an executive session to discuss possible litigation.
Okay. Anything else for Mr. Mitchell? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Klein.
Good evening, everyone. My first request is a resolution for the approval of a PO in the amount of $5,960.60 to perform wetland delineation on the property donated to the township by Tri-State Petroleum. So this is an identified capital project for 2021 by the trustees. This would be to look at some recreational opportunities on this 29 acres. in order to really properly plan to evaluate what we're going to do on that site, we've got to know the existence of wetlands and the quality of wetlands, whether it's category 1, 2, or 3. So we reached out and got 3 different quotes for the wetland delineation, and EnviroScience came in substantially lower at this $5,900 amount. And we've worked with them previously on the Sunset Drive wetland delineation, so they have some familiarity with staff and the township. And I'm asking for your approval to proceed with this so we can properly plan for what we're going to do there.
So moved, Schulte.
Second, Coleman. Any other discussion?
Just briefly, I wasn't really thrilled with their determination on the Sunset Drive parcel. Just throwing it out there. Sometimes you get what you pay for.
Yeah, well, there's definitely going to be wetlands on this property.
Yes.
That's why the cost is so high. All 3 firms did indicate that there's obviously a presence of wetlands, but hopefully it'll allow us to properly lay some trails or whatever we decide to
Yeah,
do.
just to find them is that for this project, it's actually a good thing.
Right.
We find it and then just route the walking trail around those areas or near them so you can
Yeah.
see the
Yeah.
frogs and snakes. Okay. Any other discussion? Ms. Piper, recall the roll, please.
That'll be resolution 53. Trustee Dressler?
Yes.
Trustee Colmer?
Yes.
Trustee Schulte?
Yes.
Thank you. On the capital budget project update, I just provided a status update on the tri-state property. For the other trail improvements, we have a meeting scheduled with Dan Rice, the president of the Ohio Erie Canalway Coalition. He's going to speak to the board before the meeting on June 8th, so that is set up. We're excited to have him come in and provide some guidance on how we can do some proper planning and outreach for those trail projects that we've identified as also our priority projects within the township. In circle parking, we have met and spoke to a landowner in the circle that has vacant property. We have reached out to him and asked him for different options, what direction he wants to take, if we want to continue to look at options on that property or discuss purchasing that. So I'm waiting to hear back at him on that alternative for the parking. We've also been putting together a couple different renderings and sketches for the obviously discussed parking at the middle school. So continuing to have those discussions with the school board on an option to have some parking and some lease of land there. So we're evaluating that acreage and what we would maybe need to ask the school for that. So that's well in the works on the circle parking side. I'd like to provide an update on the Cleveland-Massillon sidewalk. So we have been communicating with the Summit County Engineer's Office on their schedule for the widening project here. Since we had agreed to proceed with the sidewalk, the Engineer's Office has informed us that they have been tasked with a number of new projects, and this is no longer going to be able to fit within their schedule to include in their project. So the necessary environmental analysis, the necessary agreements that we'd have to do, including this into their bid tabs, is just not feasible based on the current workload that they've recently been tasked with. So if we would like to continue to move forward with this project, we've got a couple options. One would be to reach out to the engineer who's engineering the widening and get a separate contract to have them just draw up the sidewalk. I don't anticipate it would be that difficult because they've already done all the engineering. They understand the existing location of the sidewalk, the grades, so forth. So they would have to just draw up a typical section and hopefully a few sheets. And then when the widening comes through, whoever the contractor is selected by the engineer's office to do that project, we could contract with them separately to just install the sidewalk on a separate contract. So unfortunate news, but if we prioritize this project and we want to move forward with it, we do have that option to proceed.
So we know we were going to pay for the sidewalk. The county was not going to assist with that, but they would do the engineering for it if they had the time available. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they have done a substantial amount of engineering already for the widening. It's almost done. And so the thought at least with the discussion with them at the time was that this just could be included in the plans, just an update to the plans. And then they would include this in their bid tabs, and it would probably save us some money because they're doing the administration for the bidding. We've got contractors already out there on site. So this is just, if we go this way, it'll just be an added layer where we've got to have the consultant add in an engineering for this sidewalk, and then we've also got to get another contract with the contractor separately with the township doing the widening.
The Cleveland-Massillon project that the county is doing, where's the funding for that coming from? Do we know?
I don't know. I mean, my guess is probably the County Engineers Association, or it could be TASA funds,
I
or
think
not
they've
TASA,
received some federal funding.
some federal funding. So it could be through, a lot of their projects come through AMATs and diverted down to the county.
I guess I'm wondering if those federal funds, how can I say this politically correct? Sometimes local officials aren't really high on sidewalks. But when the money's coming from the federal government or the state government, they're more amenable to sidewalks and coordinating that sidewalk installation with their project. And I just wonder if it doesn't make sense to reach out to the actual source of the funds that the county's getting the money from, as opposed to relying on the county to do this for us. Does that make sense, Loudon?
Sure.
You follow what I'm saying, Scott and Bruce?
I do. I'm a little peeved about the whole issue. You know, we participated with the county on widening the intersection of Cleveland-Massillon and Ridgewood for the turning issue there to the tune of $100,000. And now they're doing all this work. All we want to do is include in the blueprints a sidewalk, which we would pay to install, and they can't fit it in for us. Is that what you're telling me?
Essentially, yes.
Essentially, and this kind of goes back to my comment earlier about $200,000 going to the Summit County Health District and all the money we send to the county. Wonder what the heck we get for all that money, And this is what we get. Nothing.
So I did have a conversation with Joe Paradise on this topic and asked what our options were for doing it. And I, got a litany of different monies that they've received from AMATs, and the ODOT is pushing a project forward. And there are multiple projects that he will tell you have become necessary to prioritize over doing the legwork of the sidewalks, which is when I asked, then can we do it? Because if this is a project that we want to move forward, my thought being that if we want to get it done, then we're going to have to do it ourselves. So much of what Loudon is explaining is what Joe, told us the process we would have to follow, that this would become our project. I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying that they do have a litany of projects that they will say are required to be prioritized over this.
And again, my perspective is simple. Once again, a project in Copley got kicked to the bottom of the barrel.
True, especially when they're spending all that AMS money and ODOT money at a roundabout at 77 in Cleveland-Massillon. So you see my frustration here. However, I get the fact that there's only so many people working in their office, and very likely they don't have the time and they have to prioritize what projects they're going to do. However, when they're overworked, they could sub out some work to an engineering firm as well, as we are going to have to do if we're going to make this done or make this project happen. It's absolutely ludicrous to me to do this project next year or the year after, when after Cleveland-Massillon Road has already been torn up and widened. It would be stupid not to do it all at the same time.
So what's the estimated cost?
Yeah.
Additional cost?
Right.
Well, the next step would be Environmental Design Group is doing the engineering for the widening.
Okay.
Would be to reach out to them and get a cost to include engineering for the sidewalk. We go from there, and then we would, if we are amenable to that, then we would wait until the county bids out the project and reach out to the contractor and just do a separate contract with them just to construct the sidewalk.
Well, over 50, we'd have to go to bid as well.
Assuming it's over 50.
For the engineering?
No, for the active construction. He said,
Oh,
Well,
Mr. Klein says, reach out to the contractor that wins the bid for widening the road. And if it comes in over $50,000 more we'd have to do a separate bid and maybe use a different contractor. Another pretty stupid move.
That's correct. If it was over 50,000.
So I would ask to do those two things. One would be contact EDG, see what it would cost to do the engineering ourselves, and then go back to the county and see if they'll pay for that.
Separately, I still think we should go to the funding source and let them know that we're having this problem.
We can track down and see where the funds are coming from. Yeah, it should be all out there.
I know it's extra work for your office, and I certainly don't want to pile it on.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't want to build a house and then pour the concrete for the garage later.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense to figure out how we get this squeezed in while they're doing the widening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if they're overworked, they didn't say anything about paying for it. They're simply saying they don't have enough time in their engineering department to do the engineering plans for a sidewalk. Is that correct?
Well, I think it's just the administration that's associated with including this project.
Again, time element,
Yeah.
not money element.
Correct. Yeah, there
Okay.
wouldn't be a cost, at least the way I.
See if they can have EDG do it and pay for it.
So we'll follow up on those items. I just wanted to update you on that.
When is the widening process going to begin?
I want to say spring of 2022.
So we have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure. The last item is just a quick note on the old Station 2. So we discussed at the last meeting, looking at some concepts and what the buildability of that property is, just where the station itself was, not obviously the cemetery. So it's about 0.16 acres. And you might all have talked about this prior to my arrival, so I apologize. But it's very small. And when you throw the setbacks in there, it's potentially 1,000 square foot building. Would require at least an additional 5 spaces. My next step is to reach out to the county engineer's office, because they would be the permitting authority for access points, to find out the distance and spacing. I know, at least speaking with Ms. Graffier on when we had a potential business going in Pad Thai, there were some issues with access, granting access there. So there might be further limitations with that, but that's about the size building we're going to get on there, which is very small.
And the county's involved on the access side, even if it's on Cleveland Maslin, yes, but what if it's on the other street?
That's their road.
Brookwall.
Brookwall is their road as well?
Yeah. So we're continuing to work on that, but that's what I wanted to, like I said, we laid the building in there. It's rather small. A few other departmental, any questions on the capital projects? Those are just the ones I wanted to highlight. A few departmental updates. We were able to get the lights up and running on Flight Memorial Drive. So thank you to the service department, Mr. Newman, our office, and Thompson Electric. Those are installed. I think one bulb is out, so 3 of the 4 are lit, of course. So we're going to get that up, but I believe the businesses around there are very pleased with that. So we'll continue to work with legal counsel to try and get the township reimbursed for that expenditure that we went out and did. Jeff Newman, I would like to highlight a story from Jeff. He also assisted a local resident. She had no water coming from her well. Her husband has since passed away. He was a veteran. Jeff reached out to the Veteran Services Commission. Once the resident was able to provide her documentation for her husband's service, the Veteran Service Commission provided a $10,000 voucher for her to get a new well installed. Nice. So it's a great story, feel good story. Jeff is really tied to the Veteran Service Commission and I think he's done this several times with some of the residents in the township. So great work by Jeff and the Veteran Service Commission on that. Last thing I'd like to update on is the business and promotional organization that we have talked about and developing under the Community and Economic Development Department. This would be a program that would be a tool to reach out to residents, businesses, and our different community organizations that we have throughout the township and kind of hone in those efforts, be able to do some outreach with all those groups, let each group know what's going on, have calendar updates, and really also provide a resource to our businesses for retention, expansion, and so forth. So we've been meeting, Sue Mack, myself, Ms. Marshall, Clarissa Hunt in our office, and also Beth Siddell. We've been working on different ideas for that. The first idea that we are going to take on will be a township annual magazine. So this will really serve as kind of the new welcome packet. We've seen other communities do it. It's an annual magazine that comes out at the beginning of the year. Pretty much stays the same each year, but you would update things depending on departments. There'll be a township map in there with attractions. There'll be information on all the elected officials, all the different departments and what they can offer the residents. We would also provide that opportunity for all the businesses to have ads in the magazine, which helps fund the cost of it. So we're not trying to make money here with this, but it's an effort to let new residents know the attractions, businesses in the community, what the township offers for services, and also let the businesses know that as well. So that's going to be the first endeavor that program is going to take on. We're working on different templates and hopefully have a draft version, a beta version out in 2022. I think that's all.
Anything else for Mr. Klein?
Of course.
Go ahead.
A couple of meetings ago, you were doing some research into tax abatement programs. And you were considering two different ones and not sure which to recommend to us. Where do we stand?
I want to really speak, I've been trying to get a hold of another community in Summit County and have not been able to, so I'm going to reach out. So I've been trying to reach out to Twinsburg Township, but I believe the administrator there does, I've been informed he does a lot of different things, so he's very busy. So I'm going to reach out to the Falls. They also do the enterprise zone program in the county and get some feedback from them on how they like the program. Would they rather gone the CRA route? So I apologize, that has been taking a while, and I really was excited to push that forward, and it's been delayed, but I think I just want to make sure that we proceed with the right one, because once you create them, they're in place.
Right.
CRAs can be created on a smaller scale, but I just want to do what's best for us. If we create an enterprise zone and we really don't utilize it that much based on the scale of development and based on the scale of jobs, we'd be better suited with a CRA, which has a residential component.
Okay.
It doesn't also, it doesn't have the poverty or the disinvestment levels that an enterprise zone has to show. So you have to constitute for that full authority that we talked about.
Mhm.
So I just want to make sure on that. I'm just trying to get some feedback from other communities. So
Okay.
again, I apologize, but I'll have some more information at the next meeting.
Thank you. One last thing, creating our own sewer district. I forget where we left that. We haven't discussed that in a couple of meetings now.
Yeah, so I think I just presented it all verbally, some of the process and the steps to get that created. You have to get approval by the county that there's a public health and safety need there, and you develop a plan and it goes through the courts and the judges decide that there is a need for it. So we can definitely, I can provide some of that information written to the board and send you an email, have you take a look at it. And if you have questions specifically, then I can try and follow up at the next meeting. There's some communities, Twinsburg's one of them that has one. They get their water from the city of Cleveland. So that would be an example, because we wouldn't be necessarily having a water plant or a tower necessarily in the near future, but we could pull water from another adjacent community and still have a water district here. So I'd be happy to continue to look at that if you want experience from other communities, or if you just want to.
Before we go too far, I'm going to interject something here, a conversation I had with Mr. Klein as well last week. Upon my conversation with Mr. Klein, we are looking into a meeting with officials in Medina County, as there's water and sewer going in Medina Line Road, State Road, and some other areas in Sharon Township right now. Originally, when I talked to Chief Bauer about this some time ago, I thought it was just water, but it's not. It's water and sewer going into a very sparsely placed housing developments. So with that, we can look into extending that system down to us as well. I mean, that's the conversation that I'm hoping this leads to.
So ultimately, it would take a resolution by the board to say, let's go ahead and form our own water and or sewer district, correct? And at that point, it would have to go to the courts and they would have to approve it, right?
Correct. Yeah, we have to develop a plan. So we've got to have information on how we fund it, where the resources are going to come from and all that.
So I guess I'm plotting out a timeline here to either let's move forward with this or let's not. And I'm also, in the back of my head, I'm thinking about the American Rescue Plan. If some of that goes to townships, that money can be used for sewer. So, and it's my understanding that now that's up to the state to see if the township's getting that money. Is that correct, Janice? Is that what you're seeing as well? So I'm thinking ahead that there might be some money coming our way that we could spend on sewer. We're going to spend it on sewer. I don't want to spend it on sewer and give it to Akron or Summit County. I want it to be in our own sewer district. Not going to build an infrastructure and then give it away. So I'm just thinking aloud, and I'm saying that this board needs to maybe be in a place where they can take action maybe sometime this summer, June or July. And if that's the case, then you need to
Well, why don't I send an email on all the information Like I said, I think I presented it all verbally on basically outline the steps and what it takes to get it started. It will probably be good to talk to an adjacent community on like a case study and see what constituted them getting it started, what went into the plan that they had to get approved through the courts. But we can continue to look at that, so.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr.?
I'll stop.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Any old business?
Well, at the last meeting, trustee Schulte asked if we could reach out to Jackson Township regarding the MS4 permit process. Mr. Mitchell was out of town last week, so I took that opportunity to reach to Mr. Roan. He is the Jackson Township Public Works Director. He was previously with Stark County Soil and Water and was involved in writing all of the individual permits. So in Stark County, all of those entities have their own MS4 permit. There are none that are under the jurisdiction of the county. Townships, cities, villages, all of them have their own. So he said that, there are 3 home ruled townships in Stark County. They have separate rules, just like all of the regular townships, the cities and villages. He did write the regulations, and most of the entities adopted those regulations, but individually, and maybe adjusted them or tweaked them to meet their own demands or their own concerns. So when asked if you had to be home ruled to be able to do that, he indicated that in Stark County, they do not. So I asked the question, in Summit County, our engineer has put out information that we are mandated to fall under the county regulations. And does that sound logical? And he was going to do some research and get back to me. He said he'd get back to me last Friday, and I have not heard from him. I've reached out yesterday and today, but have not been able to get in touch with him. He does know quite a few people at Ohio EPA. Was going to find out what our options are. Was very sympathetic in the tone that you might want to be able to do this on your own. So he was going to try to find an avenue for that, but I have not heard that.
Okay.
And David maybe has
That's a
some
good update.
additional information.
Yeah, I do. So I looked into this because I saw the emails circulating on the topic and researched it. There's a 2015 Ohio Supreme Court case that is on point on this. It's Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District versus Bath Township. And I can summarize it in reading a short paragraph. The Supreme Court said the issues in this case are exceedingly straightforward. Is the sewer district's regional stormwater management program authorized by statute and by its charter? And is the attendant fee structure authorized by statute and by the charter? Supreme Court said we answer both questions in the affirmative. So I think that answers the questions that Trustee Schulte had posed in his email to me.
So can you
The Court of Appeals prior to this disagreed and went the other way on it, but the Ohio Supreme Court reversed and said that the structure that is being, and I'm sure that if you asked Summit County, under what authority do they have to impose the plan that they're putting forth, they would probably just send us a copy of this case.
So in English, you're telling us that the county can put additional property taxes on every single parcel in this township, and we don't have any right to vote or any say in the amount or how it's used.
Yeah, that's my reading of the case. And that's what the Supreme Court said. I'll certainly shoot everybody a copy of the case if you want to read it.
David, is that because of the way the county is organized? Because it's charter county? I'm not sure I'm using the right terms. But...
Yeah, well, no, Summit County is a charter, but no, this had to do. This was the it doesn't have to do with the counties. It has to do with the sewer district and the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, and the charter that it has authorizing it. Its authorization, which comes from the Ohio Revised Code, which grants it the authority to do what it's doing in this case.
So is Summit County,
So they can only do it to town.
statute?
By advice code.
This goes back to my home rule question. Is that the county's telling us that these additional property taxes will not apply to cities, right? Only going to apply to township.
They're not statutory.
So this goes back to my question about home rule in our county and the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. Is that correct me if I'm wrong, is it the same letter as in the same organization that the county is coming to us and wanting to assess all of our property?
This, Mark, I think the county is promoting the stormwater management.
So this isn't the Northeast Ohio Regional Storm District. Yeah.
No, it's the Summit.
Some-
County was being told by DPA.
Right.
They were being told by DPA. I didn't see Northeast.
So the case you cited, Dave, talks about the Northeast Ohio Regional Surface, whatever, sewer district. But that's not the entity we're talking about here.
Well, so it's, I looked at the presentation Mark sent out. It's the Summit County engineer managing the surface water management district, which I guess we
I think there's two different animals here, is my point.
Yeah.
And
if it's under a regional sewer district, then I think this case would apply. I think that's,
It doesn't have to be the Northeast. It can be any district. This rule, he's saying this has, it's a precedent set by the subject district. Any district we would have to participate in.
well, do we have a sewer district?
There is a county stormwater, surface water, sewer, not sewer, but stormwater management.
yeah, it's the,
But we did not jump into it.
Correct.
Correct.
But I think he's making the comparison that if the Northeast Sewer District can have this power, then so can the county stormwater.
yeah,
Does the Northeast Sewer District also handle the stormwater permits for that township? Know what we're assuming.
I think so. So the information we got from Mark said that it would be that the townships would have to join the Summit County Stormwater Management District. I suppose we could see what the granting authority for that is. So where does it gain its authority?
I think, I guess I'm not satisfied with stopping this fight and having everybody pay incremental property taxes. And I don't think anybody on this board is.
It's if it's the same animal as the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, then this case applies. I'll be honest, if you look at Mark's email, there's it's an alphabet soup of who this is to. It references Summit County Stormwater Management District. And Summit Soil and Water Conservation District, and I don't know, a couple other things.
I did hear on the call this morning that the executive's office is getting involved and is a proponent for extending the stormwater management district that the engineer has been promoting for a number of years. And Bath is the only current entity that is signed on, but the executive's office is looking at it and interested in promoting it, I believe.
I'm sure they are, because they get to collect a couple $100 from every property owner in Copley Township and spend it elsewhere.
And we have what we have been trying to do is form our own district with Norton, Barberton, I think Clinton's in it as well. And, you know, that way as well. If we formed our own, it would only affect those areas of those people who need to be in that stormwater district.
Then that group can assess.
That's correct.
Well, someone's got to pay.
Well, that group can assess, but at least the payments then service our community as opposed to going up to Stowe. Just as I said last meeting, you know, this is going to go to the same place where all the county parks have gone, not Copley Township.
How do we move forward with this? Any suggestions? So you don't want to participate? See what happens from there?
I guess that is an easy avenue.
Well, let me reach out to Brian Nelson from the executive's office, because he was talking about it this morning, and see what the executive's office is thinking, and where they're coming from, what they're proposing. I don't know, Mark, have you heard anything more from the engineer's office or the pipe meeting or anything? So we'll do some more. I mean, we're continuing to research it. We'll continue to reach out to Jackson Township and find out the home rule question. Maybe David, you could indicate if the stormwater management district is the same animal as the Northeast Ohio Sewer District.
Yeah, so, and Janet, I could ping you an email, just that you would have reference available that, you know, this case says that this particular sewer district is authorized by Chapter 6119 of the revised code. That way, if you end up on the phone with somebody, the pertinent question would be, you know, what is the authorizing statute for whoever is making this proposal, whether it's Summit County or the Summit County engineer or some surface water management district that is, you know, kind of amorphous in our minds right now.
Okay.
That's the pertinent question. What's the authorizing statute for whoever is proposing to invoke this fee?
And again, I'm a novice on this, but it's just beyond comprehension that the county engineer can force all townships to pay these taxes, but not any cities. Just beyond my comprehension. So that goes back to my home rule question. With home rule, we gain some more attributes of a city. So that's why I'm pushing that theory, Janice, David. I just, there must be some distinction that allows them to hammer home the townships and not the cities.
We're statutory.
We are statutory, but if you have home rule, do you gain some standing to overcome this? That's my question.
All right, move on. Any other old business?
Did you receive a copy of the JED financial statement for the first quarter?
Not that I've seen.
I did. It
Yeah,
was
I did.
its usual non-illuminating report.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
Fair.
I thought you were referring to the one where it shows each individual township companies are paying into it and how much they paid.
No, we get no detail.
Right.
So as you recall, I independently had gone out previously and asked for some records from the JED financial records to get some details of what's really behind that numbers and is Akron splitting the JED revenue properly and what expenses are being paid and are those appropriate expenses? And I was rebuffed because I was a single trustee and not this board as a whole. And I was told that this board as a whole would have to request those records.
Well, let's do it, because we don't get a report that shows that Ms. Rosner has paid X amount in the JED. We have no idea what she paid and how much our cut is. Right?
Correct.
So I'm all for that. Absolutely. Yeah, I'll make a motion that we ask Akron to provide a full ledger on revenues received from Copley Township JED participants.
And a check register of all expenditures paid.
Oh, yeah, and that's fine too. I'll add that.
Second.
Any further discussion?
David, any thoughts?
You're muted, David. There you go.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way they just send us a check and tell us this is how much we received. It doesn't say any auditing on what our community has paid. So we need to know that, so.
Do you want to make that a resolution, or do you want to just write a letter, or?
A letter would be fine, I would think.
Well, you want a letter or do you just?
Which, Mr. Firestein, which one has more teeth? You want a resolution or a letter?
I think let's have a resolution that, the trust, because that was their complaint, was that they didn't feel it was properly authorized by the trustees. So let's just eliminate that argument by formalizing it, very much so.
All right, then my motion is for a resolution for the same.
Second.
I think Mr. Dressler seconded it, right?
Make it Mr. Dressler second. That's good.
Okay. Any other discussion? Ms. Piper, recall the roll, please.
That'll be resolution 54, trustee Dressler,
Yes.
trustee Colner,
Yes.
trustee Schulte.
Yes.
Any other old business? Okay, on the new business. Ms. Marshall, you have something here?
I do. Yes, just to announce that we do have a scheduled meeting with Dan Rice, who's president and CEO of the Ohio and Erie Canalway Coalition, on June 8th at 5:30 p.m. And we'll be discussing trail and greenway plans in the township. Along those lines, or similar to those lines, I just want to kind of inform the board that I've had some conversations with Lisa Graff of Graff Growers regarding the property that the township owns at the corner of Collier and Copley Road. We have been considering that area for an Eastern Gateway sign, and it has been, we talked about it at the CIC meeting. It was also suggested that perhaps we would put it on the south side of the road, on township-owned property. And of course, in order to do that, we would need to improve the property that we own and make it pleasing to the eye and so forth, a good introduction to Copley Township as you're coming west from Akron. So I have just been in initial contact with Lisa Graff. She's in the area and is familiar with the neighborhood and so forth. I believe she and her family live in the neighborhood. Our thought is perhaps to get some type of rendition or design suggestion for that corner. We're looking at the gateway sign that we have out on Route 18, perhaps making that into a corner sign for that area. Asking Lisa just what type of landscaping or plantings or green space we could create in that area. Just, this is very preliminary, just informational for you guys so that you know I'm pursuing that. If I need any money or any costs come up, I'll of course bring that to the board.
And we come to the resolve that that's non-buildable because of the soil conditions. So we're not looking at selling that, or.
I think what we have determined is that a portion of the property is buildable, but the portion where we would be placing the sign out in the parking area is
Then we would
not.
keep that part and look at the marketing the rest.
Correct.
Okay.
And when Mr. Rice is here next time, we also would ask perhaps about a trail connection in that area. Lisa or Ms. Graff was saying that has been word from Summit Soil and Water that maybe there would be a trail back there. They participated in the walk and talk that we had last, or maybe 2 years ago now, in that area. Dunkler Farms is right there, township owns property along the creek. So maybe there'd be a trail connection there, that we would want to put a trailhead on there. So there's lots of options for that property, but we are currently only looking at the corner where the gateway sign would be. Of course, we probably need to do it in phases as to the entire parcel.
Okay.
That's
You got all
all the new business.
okay. Anybody else have any new business? Any correspondence?
I have one letter. This comes from a senior at Copley High School. Dear Copley Township, thank you for supporting the Copley High School Drumbeat newspaper this year. Our staff knows that this has been a difficult year due to the pandemic. Your advertising support means a lot to our program. As a senior, this year has definitely been challenging. However, due to your support, I have been able to do something I love, writing. We hope you will continue to support our school newspaper and website. Best wishes for a successful and healthy year ahead.
Nice.
Samantha Broslinski is how you say her name, but
Nice.
I have some correspondence.
Okay.
Okay, I received some correspondence from WeThePeopleOfCopleyTownship.com. It's a fairly new website promoting transparency in government. This came from a Copley resident who wishes to remain anonymous. Her question is, she heard a rumor that, please tell me if Motel 6 in Copley is going to become a homeless shelter and paying $600 a week to be there. And if this is true, who authorized it? And then why didn't they let the people know?
Chief Meyer, do you want to respond to that, or?
I have never heard that ever before.
Okay.
There's never been any indication that anybody's expressed any interest in the homeless shelter. Evidence of discussion, I believe, by some residents, possible purchasing the property. There's large hurdles there, including the fact that it takes up the property. Likely to tear down structures in place. I think whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a rumor.
On top of that, we could probably make mention that we're property maintenance code. People have been, our department has been in there working on, because it's a deplorable condition, kicked in doors, broken windows.
That's good.
Right. So,
Okay. So it is a rumor.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Can you tell me who sent that? What's the coalition? You said there's Copley.
We the
something
People.
.com.
It's WeThePeopleOfCopleyTownship.com.
Okay, thank you.
Seeking transparency.
Good point.
I just
Good
have a
point.
question for clarification. Is anonymous correspondence?
I would consider it not to be.
Contact anonymous, you can tell anonymous, free to call me.
Now, I will say if Ms. Pfeiffer has been privy to the name, but has been asked to keep the name anonymous to the public, then I don't have an issue with it being read. But if it is a letter that's signed anonymous, then I do have an issue with that.
Thank you. That's all.
All right, business from the floor. Please come up and state your name and address.
Jim Kirk, 2430 South Hancock Road. The only business I have for the floor is honestly a correspondent. I wanted to let both the trustees know and Mr. Mitchell that I greatly appreciate the urgency he put into the issue I had, the considerations you guys put into. I understand that it's not a quick process. There are a lot of hurdles that we're going to have to go through until we get to a point where a resolution can be put in place to try to correct the issue. But I greatly appreciate everybody's efforts on this. I had follow-ups from Janice. It's been a wonderful experience, and I really appreciate you guys.
No.
And I do that publicly, not anonymously.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us know. I appreciate that. And thank you to all who's interacted to make this happen. I appreciate that as well. Anything else from the floor? Ms. Cecil, you don't come around. Nothing? Ms. Rosner? Okay. Oh, good. Thank you for coming. All right. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session for benefits of personnel in all departments, to discuss employment of personnel in the fire department, to discuss possible pending litigation for service department, and I believe that is it. Is that correct, Ms. Marshall?
Please, you said please, right?
Yes, police.
No, I believe you got it all.
Police fire exec.
I don't have one. I don't have one listed for the police
It
department.
wasn't listed, but he asked for one
Okay.
during the meeting for hiring and promotional of personnel.
Okay, we'll add that to it. too.
Do you
Second.
have one for all personnel?
Yes.
And all-
And we have a motion and a second. Mr. Dresser seconded. Any discussion? Ms. Piper, recall the roll, please.
Trustee Dressler?
Yes.
Trustee Colner?
Yes.
Trustee Schulte?
Yes.
Okay, we have a short recess and we'll go back to executive session. Thank you guys for attending. Next time you won't have to wear a mask, hopefully.
Yes. Andy not wearing that.
This conference will now be recorded.
Permission to post assessment for position of lieutenant in the police department and authorize a PO for $8,000 to cover the cost of the assessment for the lieutenant. This is resolution number 55.
So moved.
Second Schulte.
Trustee Colner,
Yes.
trustee Schulte,
Yes.
trustee Dressler.
Yes.
Permission to extend a conditional offer of employment to Grayson Henderson and Kevin Bishop as part-time firefighter medics pending successful completion of pre-hire testing.
So moved.
Second Schulte.
I'll call for the vote. Any discussion?
Dresser, yes.
Palmer, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Confirm offer of full-time employment to Joe DeToma following successful completion of pre-hire testing.
So moved Schulte.
Second, Palmer. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Dresser, yes.
Palmer, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Ratify the contract for the Teamsters and the union personnel in the service department authorizing 3% wage increase and 10% insurance contribution.
So moved Schulte.
Second, Palmer. That's not a resolution, is it? Yes, it's a motion. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Dresser, yes.
Palmer, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Authorize a pay increase for non-union and contractual personnel, authorizing 3% wage increase and 10% insurance contribution.
So moved Schulte.
Palmer, second.
I do have a question on
Go ahead.
that. The contracts have been retroactive to January. Is this one as well?
It's got to be the same.
Non-union contractual personnel.
You got it.
Got to, you have to. That's just a bad move. So my motion is,
They'll all not show up in jail, so we call it. That's it.
it does include,
Retro to January 1.
yes.
Are you all right with that, with your motion?
We're all-
Yes, and as long as they include secretary.
Those are triple.
Oh, my gosh.
You're okay seconding that?
Any discussion? Call for the vote. Palmer, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Motion to permit Chief Bauer to keep his car on a permanent basis.
So moved Schulte. Second.
Dresser,
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Dresser, yes.
Schulte, yes.
Palmer, yes.
I think that's it.
All right, sorry, guys. Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Second. See ya.
Dressler, yes.
All fair, say aye.
Aye. Aye.